The president believes that the family is essential to the attitudinal change necessary for national development. President Muhammadu Buhari was speaking at the Joint National Conference on Repositioning the Muslim Family for National Development, organized by the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and the Future Assured Initiative in Abuja. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
Every increase in crime in any society is directly tied to a decline in family values. Nigeria is not alone in this. Somalia is considered the most corrupt country in Africa. The Nigerian government does not agree with the recent Transparency International Corruption Perception ranking. However, the country is ranked the 28th most corrupt country in the world, according to them, and currently ranks in the bottom 10 globally in measurement of children's survival, health, education, and nutrition, according to UNICEF. These figures are a ticking time bomb for any society, and the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs is ready to take action to address this.
Mr. President and the Commander-in-Chief, as a retired general, and I know you are not tired, I think you should give marching orders to the governors of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to implement decisions reached at this conference and other conferences. If not, you have that big stick to wield.
Your Excellency.
Future Assured is chaired by the First Lady, Aisha Buhari. She says they are poised to do so much more to restore the sanctity of the family.
I'm happy that the owner of Ife remembered the hope that he has seen in the eyes of our supporters. We are scared to leave this place to meet them without meeting up with some of the expectations. Though we are not going to meet up with all the expectations, but at least we'll do our best to see that we have done the basic ones, that is keeping the almajiris of the street.
The First Lady,
President Buhari says there's a direct link between poverty and the destruction of the family unit.
Most of the challenges affecting the family fall within the mandates and jurisdictions of the state governments. In compliance with constitutional stipulations and provisions, we gave numerous support and bailouts to them to assist them in discharging these obligations and statutory mandates. It is our expectation that the state governments will rise up to these challenges and do their full parts in this social regeneration.
The many recorded cases of violence in marriages across the country, but especially in northern Nigeria in recent times, are quite scary, to be honest. This program, chaired by the First Lady of Nigeria, seeks to go to the root of the problem, the family, with the hopes that if that institution is fixed, we might stop a lot of the social vices that we face as a country. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, a request for a refund of funds spent to fix federal roads in Imo State, the transfer of the construction of some roads in Lagos and Ogun states, and the governments for dualization of some roads in Plateau are some of the demands made by the three state governors today when they visited the president. The governors believe that granting of these requests will make their states more economically viable and in the payment of salaries and promote peace in those states.
It was a flurry of activities for President Muhammadu Buhari. First was a visit from the new Imo State Governor, Mr. Hope Uzodinma, who says his state is in financial distress, asking for a refund of funds used to construct federal roads in the state.
I've come to request the kind intervention of Mr. President to at least refund some money spent on some of the federal roads in Imo State before my arrival, so that we can address some pressing issues like pension arrears, salary arrears, so that we can get back the people, recover the people first before we begin to talk of infrastructure.
Next was a visit from the governor of Ogun State, Mr. Dapo Abiodun, with a request to, among other things, transfer the construction and maintenance of the Lagos-Shagamu Road and the Ekpe-Ijebu-Ode Road, among others, to the Lagos and Ogun State governments.
Truck drivers are also refusing to go and load at Mosimi. If this road is transferred to both Lagos State and Ogun State, we will commercialize this road. We will have this road rehabilitated or reconstructed and upgraded. We have already secured the financing for this purpose. On the 26th of this month, by the grace of God, we will be turning the sword on the Ijebu-Ode to Ekpe Road. This is a state road. Lagos State has done it to their border. We are completing the 14 kilometers on our border, between that border and Ogun State. That road will be completed in 1 year. It is believed that when that road is completed, people coming from the east, coming from Ondo, coming from Ijebu, coming from Ibadan would have an option. They don't have to go to Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. This will ease the ability to do business in Ogun State.
And finally was a delegation from Plateau State, led by the state governor, Mr. Simon Lalong. He calls for the dualization of some roads in the state and, among other things, wants the Nigerian Mining and Geosciences Institute in Plateau State upgraded to a university.
They had made a pledge to us that he was going to dualize the road from Akwanga to Jos to Bauchi and Gombe. So up to now, although we have not seen it, we also understand the challenges with the federal government, but then we wanted to remind him that road is very clear, very dear to us. We also have the road from Jos to Zaria, which is also very, very dear to the country in terms of its commercial benefit. And then another one to Lafia from Ibi. They are already constructing the Ibi bridge. And we thought that we must remind Mr. President that you can't have a bridge without a road.
The governors believe their requests are crucial to the growth of their states and are hoping that President Buhari will use his office as the president to direct the ministries and parastatals responsible for granting these requests to do so in the nearest future.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, has launched an action plan aimed at setting a national strategy towards tackling maritime waste pollution. The agency identifies littering the waterways as a major global environmental problem, which also affects Nigeria immensely. With the launch of its new action plan, the agency hopes to eliminate this source of pollution.
Plastic and other waste floating ashore, an evidence of unsustainable human habits turning the waterways into another dump site. The accumulated litter over time has become a major challenge with some direct and immediate effects on navigation. A report by the World Economic Forum indicates that by the year 2050, plastics in the ocean will outweigh fish if not mitigated. NIMASA, an agency of government responsible for regulating activities around the coastline, says it is ready to take its stand.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the issue of maritime plastics in the seas and oceans has remained a global concern, particularly following the increased awareness about blue economy and its derivable benefits. The challenges of marine litter and plastic pollution are multiple and include threats to food security, threats to economic activities, navigational hazard, water safety, threats to ecosystem, harmful effects on marine life and biodiversity, amongst others.
The agency is focusing on driving legislation, policy and enforcement to deal with the amount of plastics and other waste making their way into the waters.
I put up a bill just about last week or two with regards to plastic pollution and the proliferation of plastics in this country. The NIMASA is going to be spending billions of money tidying up the environment. We also have some people that are making billions of money and catching it away and contributing to this menace that we have. And they must take a responsibility, and that is where my bill is aiming, and that is where I'm going after them.
The compare notes differ in some areas but agree largely on a sustainable approach.
Nigeria does not lack in laws or bills or legislation. We lack in enforcement, and we have to start enforcing if we're going to achieve the required results.
As these players agree to work together in achieving cleaner oceans and seas, they also hope to get the buy-in of the public in driving an economy sustainable for growth. Dari Idun, Channels Television News.
Let's move on now to business news with Teniola Shoboali.
Gimba. Welcome to Business News. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has lowered its March official selling prices for the Bonny Light and Kwa Ibo to dated Brent plus $1.70 and $1.85 per barrel. This comes as traders focused on the impact of April loading programs, which emerged today, and the possible ripple effects of new U.S. sanctions on Rosneft's trade in arms. According to the loading schedule, Nigeria will export 7 cargoes of Kwa Ibo in April, 5 cargoes each of Agbami and Escravos grades, and 3 cargoes each for Aminam, Erha and Apple grades. Meanwhile, global oil price benchmark Brent crude has risen by nearly 1% to $59.39 per barrel in the evening, on less than expected increase in U.S. crude stockpile. While a last-minute gain in the share price of Boa Cement saves the day for the equities market as the bears release their grip on the equities performance. Layo Adegoke has the details.
Thank you for joining us for the Stock Market Report. After 3 days of sustained sell-off, the stock market made a moderate 0.17% rebound at the close of Thursday's trading session, largely on renewed interest for the shares of Boa Cement. The 3% price increase in NSE's third most valuable stock contributed largely to the 24 billion naira recovery in the equities capitalization, as well as 1.66% advance on the industrial goods counter. The positive sentiment also reflected on the price table as 19 equities recorded increases on their share price, led by 10% increase from ICO Insurance, while its sector contemporary Law Union and Rock Assurance led 19 other losers, down by 10%. Meanwhile, strong interest on the shares of Sovereign Trust Insurance boosted the total volume of shares traded today by 67.2% to 485 million units in more than 4,100 transactions. And that's it on the Stock Market Report. I'm Layo Adegoke.
Thanks, Lyle. On the other hand, stock markets across the United States, Europe and Africa ended Thursday's trading session mostly in the red, as the impact of the coronavirus on major economies remains a big concern for global investors. Here are some snapshots of the closing numbers for the day. And that's Business News tonight. It's back to you, Gimba.
Great job, Tenny. Still ahead on the news at 10, court sentences U.S. President Trump's longtime advisor and ally, Roger Stone, to 40 months in prison over obstruction and witness tampering. We have more from our London studios and around the world in 5+. Roger Federer announces his withdrawal from a number of tournaments, including the French Open, after undergoing surgery on his right knee. That's the sports news. Stay with us.